Bleachers. Got an update. Brent, Barb, whoever wants to take it away.
Met out there, oh man, must have been at least 3 weeks ago now. Bruce, Peterson, Larry Tonhusen and I met out at the high school track and football field and discussed possible placements of or replacements of the bleachers out there. And the idea we came up with that seemed to work was there are 7 sections of bleachers in front of, that are the home bleachers for football. We would leave 4 of them there. Let me back up. The whole thing started because the base is bad on all those. Those need to be replaced somehow, some way. That being the premise, if we find a way to tear those out, put something back in, risers, which we got a bid from here that we're talking about a little bit, I guess. We just put 4 sections back where those were at, take 2 of the 3 sections that are kind of laying out in the wind at the time, put them at the start-finish line, and take 1 section over to the softball field. That was the idea that everybody seemed to agree with. Mr. Tonhusen said he was going to talk to Coach Niehaus and Coach Fisher. Did he ever get a hold of you about that, Mike?
No.
Okay. But you were okay with it. Maybe that's why, because I did tell him that the night before the meeting or whatever that you had said that that sounded good to you. If that's the idea that people seem to be okay with, then I guess we need to figure out who's going to do the work, how it's going to get done, and what it's going to cost. Bruce said he was going to get a quote for some of the understructure that would replace the 6x6s or 8x8s there. And he did that partially, but I don't quite, it's a pretty big quote, so I don't really know exactly what all that entails. I mean, it's a starting point.
Sure, if you notice the date on it, it's June 16th, and when Bruce called to find out where the quote was from Iowa Direct Equipment, to just give us some ideas about what the project would cost. He talked to the fellow shortly after you guys had met, and he'd actually forgotten to put the quote together. So shortly after Bruce talked to him, this came, and Bruce's comment to me was, I just don't know if he remembers what we were asking him to quote him. So, but Bruce and I did decide that we needed to bring this tonight at least so that he could see something, but
From what I've seen right here, it only addresses, each section I think is 10 rows if you're looking at, does everybody have one of these? You have one?
let me walk through.
Okay.
I guess my question is help me out on risers.
Yep.
Risers basically get the bleachers off the ground.
Yes, correct. We're doing what the 8x8s or 6x6s are doing right now.
Is there any way that we could do some landscaping that would get the bleachers off the ground, that
Potentially.
we use some steps or something to, in other words, I mean, if we decide we don't want to spend $30,000 on risers to get these things up off the ground, and they sit on a cement slab and it's so, is that going to, how far is that going to move everything down? Just the amount of that front walkway? About
Yeah, right now they're 4
so?
right now they're 4 foot high. The ones that 4 foot high. And the risers, Bruce was talking you could get 3 foot risers or 4 foot risers. Now this doesn't say anything about how tall the risers are, but it just says bleacher understructure only. Well, I don't know what that means, you know. I do know that the bleacher understructure, the 2 that we have for the visitor side at the football field are literally just angle ironed and are cross braced about 5 different times, 5 different ways. So, in my opinion, that wouldn't be hard to construct. Any local welding blacksmith can do that. But I don't know about the 5 foot walkways and the planks and understructure and all that stuff. I don't know how much, I mean, it's not I don't know what cost what on this bid, it's just a big blob of stuff at $30,000. So, maybe the unstructures are very cheap and the 5-foot walkways are really expensive, I don't know. It doesn't really spell that out.
Well, I guess my next question is, we're talking about if we move some sections, we would put that on a slab.
Yep. Everything needs to, if you put the understructure down, everything has to sit on cement. Because it's just angle iron, like channel iron, maybe 2x2 angle iron.
But when we talked previously about moving a section, were we also talking about just setting that on a slab, or were we going to put an understructure?
Everything was going to have an understructure.
Everything.
Everything was going to end up with an understructure. And that's why when I look at this, it says too, it looks like there's only 5 sets of bleachers that are going to get understructures here when we actually have 7 that need it. No matter where they end up, they were all going to have an understructure underneath them. So the bid doesn't even include, the way I read it, 7.
So we need a slab at the football field for 4 sections.
Yep.
We need one at the start-finish line for 2, and one at softball for 1 section.
Yep.
And then we need this understructure
Every place.
every place.
Every place.
Okay.
So you end up needing 7 understructures if you end up, yanking out. The only other thing that I can think of is at the football field, the first 2 sets to the south of the bleachers are really bad. I never looked at whether or not they actually get better. What started this whole thing was that whole walkway is just going up and down bad. I don't know if you could salvage just the middle sections of that, you know what I'm getting at, and get that straightened out. So you wouldn't have to buy understructure for the 4 you leave there, and you wouldn't have to pour slabs for them. But I don't know for sure if that's the right way to go. My guess is that if some of them are going bad, they're all going to get
And the
filled.
4 on the north end wouldn't stay right where they are, would they have to be?
Oh, well, the way we looked at it as far as Mr. Townsend and Bruce, you'd probably take, the crow's nest doesn't sit, I don't think, exactly
No, it doesn't.
centered. I think there's 3 kind of in 4, and you take 1 off one end and 2 off the other end to kind of keep it still be more like the 50-yard line idea. You're just taking the outside ends of everything out.
Those big telephone poles, would they have to be out of there?
Those are the only things that actually look good to us. Bruce talked about that too. As far as the crow's nest, it looked to me like you could probably, if you wanted to, just take the crow's nest off of that.
That'd probably burn pretty quick, wouldn't it?
And start over on the poles that are there.
Okay.
The poles that are there are probably good. And it looks to me like they're all cut off level. I think there's 6 poles or maybe 8. And then just put a frame around it and then start a building on top of that. That could all come off and start over. But that's kind of a minor part of it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have anything in this project, price-wise or anything like that, so. I don't know.
What about somebody like, Donnie Phillips? Anything?
Well, anybody could make
Could
these
make
understructures.
these
If he
understructures.
saw one, he could make it. Now, I don't know about the walkways and the planks and, that stuff probably is expensive. It's all made out of aluminum and metal, probably go crazy, but,
Can I interject here?
yeah.
Last board meeting we were on this. This is sort of a tender item.